Hello, everybody, to session 31, Bars Around the World.
Hi, our today's special guest, the wonderful, beautiful Sarah. Hi.
Hello. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone.
So much for your time.
Wow, it's so great to have you on board. Yeah.
So cool.
Thank you.
So, Sarah, before we start with our questions, may I ask you for a short introduction of yourself?
Sure. So my name is Sarah Watt. I'm currently living in Australia. I'm home at the moment on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, but I am rarely here, so it's a treat. I'm one of the worldwide events coordinators for Access Consciousness. I work very closely with some amazing people, Francesca Ferrantini, who I think you've had on here or you're having on here, Sean Van Orden. We create a lot of the events for Access classes around the world. I'm also a certified facilitator of Access. I'm a conscious horse, conscious rider facilitator, which is one of my huge passions, which is why I love being home. I have my horses here with me. I coordinate a lot of stuff. So I work a lot with Access Consciousness, the businesses around the world. And I also love to prioritize facilitating Access classes because, I mean, why not? If the world needs more of anything, it's more of this amazing stuff, more of these amazing tools, more consciousness. So yeah, that's a very, very quick intro of myself.
Very quick.
Very quick.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for this. First question. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. What was the reason for you to choose consciousness and the Access bars?
Cool. Awesome question. Well, I can tell the story about how bars and how Access came into my life. It's my brother's fault, Brendan Watt. He's to blame. He was sort of having not a super good time in life. So he'd ended his relationship with his wife, his partner, the mother of his son. He'd moved back home with our mum and was sort of living in this small bedroom, sharing a room with his son, and was pretty much done with life. Like, I don't think he was very happy at all. During that time, I was living in another city here in Australia. We were both in Australia. I was in Sydney, which is a big city here, you know, partying it up, living the life of like a 20-something-year-old, having a great time of it, and pretty much, you know, enjoying my life to a degree. But even from a very young age, I think everyone you just speak to that have found these tools or are on some kind of path to consciousness, some kind of path to something different. We'll talk about always knowing that there was different things. So even growing up, I would say I grew up in a family of people that were always seeking something different. We were never sort of like happy with the life we were told that we should have. Yeah, so I mean, consciousness itself, I think I'm still discovering that. I'm still on that path. But I was living in Sydney, having a wild time of it, and my mum called me and was like, "You need to call your brother." And I was like, "Why? What's going on?" And she's like, "He's found this really cool thing. You need to call him. Just call him." And I said, "Okay." And I called my brother, and he was like, "Oh my God, go to this website, accessconsciousness.com, and you need to find a bars practitioner. Just go to this section of the website." I knew nothing about it, but you know, like I said, growing up, we were always like a little bit on the woo-woo side of life. Like my mum and I used to do, like, we got into some meditation courses and channeling and talking to spirits and like doing stuff that was like considered a little bit strange probably, but these days maybe not so much. Yeah, and so I went to the Access Consciousness website and looked up what a bars practitioner was. He's like, "Just book a session, just do it and call me once you've had the session and we'll talk about it." So I looked online, and the person who first ran my bars was Shannon O'Hara.
Oh, wow.
She was also living in Sydney at the time, in Surrey Hills, just not far from where I was living. And so I called her and said, "Hey, I've been told about this stuff. I'd like to book a session with you." So I went to her house. She ran my bars, and that was probably coming on 10 years ago now. I'm so bad with time. Like, I'm like, was it 5 years ago? Was it 50 years ago? It was somewhere around 10 years ago, I think. That was the first time I got my bars run. And from there, like, it wasn't like this thing, you know, I call Brendan and he's like, okay, now you can do a bars class, you can do all this stuff. He's like, it's basically like an endless pathway of possibilities. So I got into it and I kind of went pretty full on for a while. I think I did my first 7-day. I flew to Costa Rica that year, and met Gary and Dane, you know, met Simone. Not long after that, my brother and Simone started, you know, seeing each other, started a relationship. But then I was kind of like, you know, being like a 20-something-year-old, still busy with, you know, going to parties and having a good time. I was like, well, you know, this stuff can wait. It's fine. It'll be. So I sort of just went off and did my own thing for a little while. But the thing about Access is once you've had your bars run once, it never goes away. It never leaves you. It was almost like, and I love the fact that the logo, one of the logos is the dandelion, because it was literally like this seed had been planted somewhere in my world. And even though for a little while I would go off and do other things, it was always there. It never left me. It was always this like niggling little thing. So yeah, I think at some point, like not that long later, I started exploring it more. And you know, you asked about consciousness as well, and I think that's something every day I ask for more of. Every day I'm discovering, like, I like to talk about this meandering path of consciousness or to consciousness, where we're all on it. We're all at different stages or in different places, but we're kind of on this journey together in a way. And whether it's through the tools of Access or whether you're just interested in seeing, you know, a greater world with less judgment and more happy people, I think there's a certain path that we all follow. And whatever twists and turns we take, we sometimes cross paths with each other, we find each other again. But yeah, consciousness is one of those things that is kind of my life journey, I would like to say, without making it sound too too significant.
Wow,
yeah,
with the seed is so beautiful, because the bars are the basic, or is the basic.
Yep.
No, but it's so much more than the basic.
Oh, yeah.
No,
it's not a basic tool.
Yeah, but
it's the starting point, but it's not
the
a
seed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But not for one moment or for the first time. It's a oh my God.
Yeah. And you look at like a tree, right? Like a beautiful big tree that's been growing for years and years and years. And, you know, it starts as this seed, but then it branches off and it has this root system that connects to other trees. It connects to the earth. And then it has this whole thing above the ground with branches and leaves and flowers and stuff like that. And it's like, that's kind of for me where the bars was like this one thing, but it grew and is still growing. Like, I feel like it's this never-ending thing that the more you choose it, the more it grows, the more it's there. So yeah.
Wow, on point. Wow. Thanks for this. Wow.
Correct answer.
Okay, good.
Okay. When you think back, is there maybe one bar session that you remember the most?
Yeah, and can I talk about it when it was when I ran someone else's bars, which I think is interesting as well, because I think a lot of the time people don't give us feedback about it, or we don't give people feedback. We kind of, and you know, the other thing about the bars is sometimes you have these real sudden changes, like you get up off the table and instantly it's like this really profound and obvious change. But for me personally, overall, like every moment of the day, I realize things that I would have reacted to very differently. So when things come up, I'm like, wow, you know, a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, that would have been such a different thing in my world. It would have been so significant. I would have had to have thought about it and figured it out. And now I'm just like, everything is so much easier in my world. And I have so much more space to have joy and creation and all this stuff, because I'm not filled with all of these sticking points and these points of view and judgment. So that's my thing. But I do remember you know, someone had posted on a Facebook page, I've heard about this Access bars or Access consciousness, and right. So I replied and said, there's a whole bunch of people on the Sunshine Coast. Here's a link to a page. And she ended up messaging me and saying, I'd really like for you to be the one to run my bars. I said, okay, cool. So she came to my house, blah, blah, blah. I ran her bars, charged her for the session what I would usually charge someone. It went for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. She got off of the table and left. And I don't really, like, if people have questions, I will tell them anything. Like, I will ask them questions, we can talk. But if they're also like just zoned out and then they leave, that's fine too. And, she contacted me like maybe a week or two later, and she's like, I'd like to come and have another session. And I was like, yeah, okay, great. So she came over, and this time, she's like, Sarah, I've got to be honest with you. When I did that first session with you, I left the house and drove home. And the whole way home, I was like berating myself. I was like, oh my God, that was a waste of money. All you did was lay it on this table and like fell asleep for an hour. You paid all this money for this. She's like, I basically just drove home and was in total judgment of everything. She'd never known about Access or the bars before. I think I sent her a few things after the session and said, hey, if you're interested in looking at anything else. She's like, but oh my God, that night she had one of the things, she was really having trouble with sleeping. She's like, that night I had the best night's sleep I've had in, probably over 10 years. She said, but the funniest thing was the very next day she went into work and people were like looking at her. And she was like, what, have I got something on my face? What's going on? And all, like, at least 3 people that day said to her, what have you done? Like, you have changed so much. And she was like, say anything at the time, but she just was kind of like really taken aback that all of these people that she works with were just like, and she just named like 4, 5, 6 different things that happened in the next days that were just total. She didn't say anything. It wasn't like she told people what had gone on. She just showed up and people were like, what has changed? What is going on? And she was like, I couldn't deny it then, Sarah. There was something so different in my world. And that's what I personally love about the bars is you don't have to try. You literally get to lay down. I'm having a bar swap today with a close friend. I'm so excited. You literally get to, you can even put a movie on and watch a movie and zone out, or you can talk, or you can, whatever that is. But you get to change and it's easy. I do a lot of different things with my body. I see different body workers and, we've got Access body processes as well. But the thing about the bars is you go to a bars practitioner and they're like, hi, come and lay on this table. If you've got questions, please ask. Otherwise, feel free to just fall asleep or whatever you choose, this is going to work for you. Whereas you go to another body and they've got to find a problem to fix. Like, yeah. I'm seeing a lady at the moment and it's constantly like, okay, you need to do this with your body. And now that I've got the tools, I can just be like, interesting point of view, because my body really likes this body worker. But when she talks and all of her points of view about body, I'm like, Access is so very different because we don't do any of that. We just allow people to lay there, to receive, and for anything that they're willing to change, anything that we can facilitate for them to change, wow. It just happens. So
there is no wrongness.
Yeah, no judgment.
No.
And that's the beautifulest thing in that I'm knowing in my life. It was the first time when I hear that, oh, you're not wrong. And there was this, what? I'm not wrong? Okay, what's wrong here?
Yeah, maybe you're wrong then for telling me I'm not wrong. Someone's going to be wrong.
What is going on? It was in my first foundation and but this is the gift for me. Like the bars, this gifting and receiving. Oh, wow. Thanks for sharing this.
Thank you. Sarah, looking back to your Access starting point where you had a lot of party in Sydney and so on, compared to now, what changed in your life?
Look, absolutely everything. And really, the life that I have now, I never, ever, ever, ever could have dreamt that it would be possible. Like, to really look at what I've created in my life. As a child, we grew up, I would say, very poor. Like, we struggled from week to week to have money for food. And, my mum did such a good job. She was a single mum. She had 3 kids and, and I was a happy kid. Like, I was always just happy in life. Like, I just always woke up pretty much every day quite happy. But I sort of was like, well, and then I found the party scene and I was like, okay, so maybe this is what life's about. Like you have a really good time and then you sort of go to work and you make enough money so you can have a good time on the weekends or whenever you can find the space to, I'll get to see some of the world when I'm on holidays and I'll save a lot of money to be able to travel. There was always somewhere in my world I knew there was a different possibility. Like I was saying at the beginning, I think anyone that finds consciousness or that is looking because they know in some way there's something different available. But literally what I have created, and for me now, this is still very much just the tip of the iceberg. There's nowhere in my world I'm slowing down or stopping. I have so many asks, so many targets, so many places I still want to go. And so looking at pre-access, and now, and I even had a great job. I worked with animals. I worked in animal welfare. I got to I had such a fulfilling life. There was nothing where someone would look at my life and be like, oh, you must be unhappy or your life is pretty crappy. It was actually a really cool life. But the difference with this now is you start to learn actually everything that you desire, you can create. And I know it seems a far stretch because some people might still be right back at that place where they don't have a lot of money or there's things going on in their world. But the thing I love about my life is I could really be proof to how using these tools can change everything. So yeah, I literally pinch myself. I'm like, in a week and a half, I leave for a month on the road with Access. I'm flying to the United States to participate in the 9 Trannies class with Gary, Dane, and Simone in Houston. And then I go down to South America with Simone and then back in Houston. We're doing our first 6-day at El Lugar, the resort we're building in Costa Rica in October. So I'll fly over for that. I have 2 horses that live in Costa Rica. I have my horses here in Australia. I live in this beautiful home. When I'm here, I really love it. It's just this life that I'm like, and sometimes I'm like, is someone going to bust through the door and take it all away from me? How have I really, but it's not, it's and the other thing is I don't have to stop. I can keep asking for more and it's not wrong. There's no end to what you can have if you're willing to ask for it and to go out there and
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my
That's
God, I love that
beautiful.
energy.
Yeah,
Wow.
wow.
That's access consciousness.
Yeah.
This energy is like the tools, yeah. There's
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Great.
So great.
So the next one, as we have a lot of, let's say, new people, new guys, beginners with access consciousness, is there something you want to share with them? Anything in addition you already mentioned?
Yeah, well, I would say sometimes it feels a little bit overwhelming. I know when I started with Access, I was like, oh my God, there's all these tools and all these classes and all these things. And, you can go into a bit of a rabbit hole with everything. And then I've seen people get a little bit overwhelmed and be like, okay, so what I would say is the one thing about Access that is both kind of the toughest thing, but also the thing that's going to kind of give you the most is going on this journey for yourself. Going on this, Gary once said, if you want to go, you've got to be willing to go alone. So that doesn't mean you're going to be alone, but you've got to be willing sometimes to just take that step, even if the people around you aren't quite ready to take that step yet. So every time you go to that place of being a bit like what you would call overwhelmed or a little bit fearful, go to one of the tools. Pick a simple tool, how does it get any better than this, or what else is possible, and just play with it for the day. Just be like, okay, everything else for now, I'm just going to give myself some space with this. I'm going to play with this one tool today and I'm going to see what I can change. Because even I still have these moments, 10 years in, I think we're hardwired to sort of find sometimes a problem with things. No matter how much of this stuff we've done, we have these days where we're just like, so generally that's what I would do, is pick a tool And, you know, at the moment, it might be something that some other people haven't heard of. But the cool thing about Access is no matter what tool you choose, you can apply it to any situation, literally any situation. Any tool will work on that situation. So if you're starting out, welcome, congratulations, and just keep going. Oh, and one other thing I would say, so pick a tool, give yourself space, be willing to have those moments where things feel a little bit difficult or a little bit overwhelming, and just relax.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is phone a friend. Like have some people around you that you can just call and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes? I just need someone to ask me some questions.
Yeah.
Try and have a couple of people in your corner that won't buy into the trauma and drama. So if you've got something going on with your kids or your relationship or your money or your business, someone that you can call and say, hey, can you just ask me some questions about this? Because sometimes having that person or those people can be a really big help as well. And if you don't, be that for you. Like almost be like, okay, if I was helping myself here, what questions would I ask myself? What would I say? But I think overall the main thing is just enjoy the ride. Like relax into it as much as you can. It's a never-ending journey. It's a never-ending path. It's not a destination, really. It's not. It's all about the journey and how much fun you can have along the way. So yeah.
And
Wow,
don't
great.
do overthinking.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah, God, you might as well just
change.
like take that whole thing out and just retire it for now.
Like a rabbit
And if
in
you
the
you
round.
know yeah, and use the bars, like really, really, really the basic tools. Like, you know, we're talking about the bars, which is the first thing you learn in Access, but it's these tools, the first tools you learn are really, really honestly the tools that will get you through anything. And Access keeps changing. Right now, we're talking about something different. In 6 months from now, it'll be something different again, because like, you know, we're dealing with layers upon layers upon layers. But really, the stuff you learn at the beginning is going to get you through, out of, above, over, around absolutely anything that you come up against in yourself, in this world, or anything like that. So as much as you can, get your butts run as well.
Manuel is amazing.
Yeah.
It's
yes. Oh, yes.
oh, the
It's
manual
it's not only the
wow.
explanation of the 32 points, it's so much more.
The
Yeah.
other stuff. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love your energy. It's wow, it's
I'm celebrating this
Yeah.
interview session. Okay.
So we have 4 questions,
And-
4 answers.
And
You did everything correct. We are allowed to upload your interview. Perfect.
one last question, please.
Yes, of course.
Are there any classes or course with you for beginners?
Without any prereqs, yeah.
Yeah. And where did you find it?
Yeah, and I was going to do a little plug before. I can't remember what you were talking about as well, but I know I'm a little bit biased. But if you can, it's one class you do have to attend live, but Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider classes are the bomb. Like really, and you know, I've always been a bit of a horse nut, like ever since I was a child. I grew up on the coast in a family of surfers. We were always at the beach, and all I was dreaming about was being on land and being in the country and being with horses. I don't know why. I don't know how that quite worked. I think I took the wrong path in when I got here and took a left when I should have taken a right. But anyway, another thing in my life that I've created using the tools. But the thing I love about Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider is it takes all the tools of Access and combines it with these big, beautiful animals that can't talk. So you're there with a facilitator, you're there with a bunch of other people, and honestly, you're being facilitated by this, you know, 500 kilogram non-verbal animal. So I would love to plug Conscious Horse, Conscious Rider. I've got one coming up here at my home next weekend, but I mean, maybe for a lot of you that won't work. I'll be in Dubai in November. I'm going to do one there, but you can go to the Access Consciousness website and find the facilitators around the world doing those classes. And even if it's an intro, you can do just like a 2-hour intro class. I would definitely recommend that. I'm about to post a couple more things. I'm going to actually, it's funny, a lot of what we've talked about, I'm going to create a 2-part telecall about creating the life you've always dreamed of, but never actually dreamed that you could have. So yeah, I've got the dates and everything. I've just got to get it up on my website. That won't have any prereqs. That will really be about exactly what we've talked about
Sarah,
on
let me
here.
know.
Like,
Please send
yes.
us the link.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I have a website, sarahwatt.com.au, because I'm Australian. So you can find all of my stuff on there, Facebook, Instagram. I mean, yeah, I'm out in the world as much as possible. And also I'm at a lot of classes. So please, if you ever see me, please come and say hello. I love the fact that we're traveling again, and that I actually get to come out and touch people and hug and
yeah, great. Yeah, we will share your webpage below this video.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
And thank you for creating this. Like, truly, like, how does it get any better? And what else is possible? Having people like you in the world that just want to share the tools. That's really what it's all about. So thank you.
I hope you have acknowledged how great you are, how amazing. Oh my God, what an energy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm sweating.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Sarah, for
thank you for contribution.
Your time and
my pleasure.
Awesome space. Thank you so much, really. Oh
my
wow.
Pleasure. Thank you, guys.
I want to hug you with a hug.
Yes, one day soon. Let's make sure we hug. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone. Thank you for watching.
Bye.